Coming up, a Sad Styles production. Get into it!
Hey, Andrew, I don't know if you realize this, but this week we're coming up on the anniversary of Half-Life and Half-Life 2. They came out right around the same time, years apart. Did you realize that?
No, I didn't know that at all. That's so cool.
Okay, so I was thinking, one of the things I remember most about Half-Life, I don't know if you're the same way, is the protagonist, Gordon Freeman. He's one of my favorites of all time. And it got me thinking about some of my favorite protagonists, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit this week. Do you have any favorite protagonists of all time in gaming that you've played out?
Yeah, for sure. I think, my favorite one is always first name, last name.
Hang on.
Yeah. The character's name.
What is the first name and the last name of the character?
You know it clearly. It's first name, last name. First name, last name has always been a great hero. What's up?
No, I know you're telling me that you like the first name and last name of these characters, but I'm just trying to get a better sense of what the first name and the last name is. It's tough for me to kind of engage unless you actually tell me what the name of those characters are.
This is getting increasingly frustrating, Mikey, because I am telling you this character's name is first name, last name. They're in every sports game I've ever played. They're always incredibly good. They're there year after year. They always end up kind of looking like me a little bit, but they're incredibly successful.
I think I see where this is going.
Okay, what's up?
You're cutting my grass a little bit. Okay, you're trying to take my number one pick away because I was gonna say first name, last name was always the superstar in all my they may be the star for you on the football field, but they're going on missions for me. They're slaying dragons, orcs, and demons, maybe all on the same day.
Yeah,
first name, last name has kind of been running the gamut. I gotta say.
Well, we already know our number one picks. I guess from tier 2 to 10, you got to listen to the rest of the episode.
Oh, this week on the Retrograde podcast, as we count down our favorite video game protagonists of all time.
Welcome to the Retrograde
podcast, where we remind you what you used to love and whether or not you still should.
My name is Andrew Bascom, and with me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey. Insert name here and worth.
Oh yes, very good. Oh, Mikey, I'm so excited to be talking about protagonists.
I am very excited too. I just got one thing to ask you, Andrew, before we get into our you've seen the title of the episode, you know what it is, and you as my co-host obviously know what it is as well. The top 10 video game protagonists. Wait, no, co-host is it's not a hierarchical thing. Co-host is just
no, I meant I always know what the theme is.
I thought you meant, of course,
it feels like you're shouting me out.
No, yeah.
Oh, no, you would never do that publicly.
No, not publicly. It's behind closed doors. Those doors.
Behind closed doors.
Which, by the way, the two of us are not behind together right now.
No.
And this is
two different doors.
Two different doors. And it's, it works out. Because it was kind of the anniversary of Half-Life and Half-Life 2 that got me thinking, because obviously everyone knows Gordon Freeman being one of the most iconic protagonists of all time in gaming.
Gordon's. Oh
yeah, one of the most iconic Gordons. You got Ramsey.
You got Gordon Ramsay. You got the fisherman. From the Fish Stick Company.
Right. Yeah. You got the gin. Isn't there a gin?
Gin. Yeah, Gordon's gin. Yeah, that's very good.
Andrew, you could be a Gordon with your nickname.
This is my new fighter pilot helmet, Gordon Gin. I'm like, feels like sponsorship.
Just a plain brown helmet. Khaki
There's
colored
no fancy
or something.
decal. Yeah.
Well, listen, if you're new to this podcast, first of all, thanks for listening. Secondly, typically what we do on the podcast is we take a look back at the games that we used to play when we were kids. Usually it's something we had an affinity towards one way or another. We rate and review the games as you remember them back when we played them. Then we play the games, play all the video over on our YouTube channel, then we come back and rate and review the games as they hold up in the modern day against the likes of modern games. But as you can tell, because Andrew and I aren't in the same room together, things are going to be handled a little bit differently today. And because of this Gordon conversation that we were having, Hayward would be being another one.
Gordon Hayward. How did I forget? Ben Gordon, the other basketball player.
And Gorons.
We're really struggling to find out more Gordons.
No, I was going to say Gorons from the Zelda franchise, but with a D in there somewhere. And there's always a D.
Goro.
Goro.
It's missing a D and an N.
Johnny Cage punched his D off, I mean, he did, if we're watching the movie.
Oh, no one's denying it. He definitely punched his D off.
No one's fighting you. Eyeing it, and those are the two letters out of Goron that make Gordon.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. See, it all comes full circle.
By the way, best movie of all time, Jim Carrey's the number 23. I mean, it's all about conspiracy theories, connections, the things the government doesn't want you to know about.
Right.
But what we want you to know about...
Why are you bringing this up?
Well, just because I just made that weird connection between D's and N's and removing them from Goron to
sorry.
Gordon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. So the reason why we're talking about this is because we want to talk about now our top 10 video game protagonists of all time. I'm very excited to do this, Andrew. I think it's fitting. It'll help because we're not in the same room together to play a video game. Also almost not too far removed from when, as we talked about last week, playing Pokemon Arceus. We that was all we did on that episode. Do you remember that? We just sat down and played the launch, and we're a few days removed from the launch of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Unfortunately, not recording.
Jim Carrey 23.
Jim Carrey number 23. Yeah, everything is connected. Time is a flat circle.
Kinda. Yeah, exactly. Deep inhale from a cigarette, and we're ready to go.
So obviously we can't talk too much about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, in spite of the fact that we were heavily covering Arceus when it came out. And you know what I'm finding out, Andrew? Anything that ends in consonant EUS, I'd never know how to pronounce. Proteus, Arceus, Arceus.
Wow.
Who knows?
Wow. There's a real connection. You're right. There's a real gap there. And I blindly stick to one confidently. The problem is that you're too honest of a human being where you're like, Arceus, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, you should just powered through with one and just been like, that's it. I'm done now.
Well, that's what I do in my professional life is never admit mistakes.
Nice.
Always assume that what you said is correct. And that anyone who challenges that is actually is trying to get your position by any means necessary. So you need to, and I'm going to try to find a good way to say this.
Please.
Put them down and keep them down and prevent them from rising to anywhere above their station.
Okay. You started with this and I was going to make a joke like it's the Donald Trump School of Leadership. And then you kept making points and I'm like, this is
the Donald Trump School of Leadership.
Yeah, wow, holy shit, I think you're onto something. Did you read? What was that book called again? Like,
Andrew, don't pretend like
you
don't know The Art of the Deal.
Art of the Deal, that's what it is.
I have a copy of The Art of the Deal signed by Colby Covington, actually. It's a weird full circle thing.
Yeah, mine's stuck by Chuck Norris for some reason. I don't know why. Some like weird Bible to them.
It's strange. Where
do they stand?
Well, we can't. Yeah, where do we stand? It's a good question. Well, on opposite sides of the city of Toronto to record this episode. Apparently, we're talking about us. Andrew, I miss you as well, and one of the reasons I miss you is because you have done something for once in your life that I have not. In playing God of War Ragnarok, I haven't started it yet. You have, and I've been itching for a variety of reasons this week. One of which is to find out what you think about this game.
Mikey, I am so glad I have a chance to talk about this and really reign supremacy on this podcast and just really let it rip. I am
speaking of the Art of the Deal and supremacy. You're really selling us on this, okay?
Oh boy, that's a real thing. Supremacy and the word Trump is a very interesting connection. Okay, I played 12 hours of this game.
Nice.
I have let it rip, and I'm here to report that I really like this game, Mikey. I really like this game. And,
really?
And now you're going to sit here, and if you're new, first of all, welcome. We love you. Mikey's already done this, but I also love you. And second of all, is because the last God of War, which got
Andrew,
reviews.
Why did you wink at me when you said that?
Mikey, it was unrelated. I think I'm having a stroke. So is it? Okay. Yep. Not it's you're itching. I'm having a stroke. We both have medical issues. The last God of War was not our game. It was so well reviewed and everyone loved it. And it really kind of changed the franchise in a lot of ways. And that's great. But it wasn't something that I like outwardly hated. I tried so many times. I just couldn't keep my interest into it. Sure. I found the voice acting and some of the storytelling to kind of be a little ridiculous. And I found some of this stuff to be incredibly repetitive, when it comes to the same, 7 different opponents you'd face. And you're like, oh, okay, well, this guy again, here we go. With just different levels. And I just had to get different armor. Okay. That's totally fine. I will say this game is, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think the storytelling has gotten way better. I still think the voice acting is somewhat ridiculous at times. I think they're just stuck with Kratos.
You gotta be careful saying that because people are on the Christopher Judge wagon. They love him. They think he's one of the best voice actors in the game right now.
Is he the voice of Kratos?
He's the voice of Kratos. Yeah.
Oh, I don't. Okay. I guess so.
No, can I actually agree with you on that?
Good.
This speaks to my. May I please agree with you on this?
First of all, thank you. Second of all, you may proceed, but with caution.
And may I say and this is me asking for permission again. Thank you for allowing me to agree with you.
Wow. They're very bold and kind gesture on behalf of Mr. Aaronworth.
Thank you very much. So the reason I say that though is my big problem with God of War 2018, and we'll get into this when we talk about, because I want to get some video game talk off the top out of the way. But once we start to get into our top 10 video game protagonists of all time, I wanna say this at least about God of War. One of the reasons why I had an issue with God of War 2018 is because Kratos was always one of my favorite protagonists.
Okay.
Oh, old Kratos.
Ooh.
So new Kratos. Yep. But young Kratos.
Oh,
young Kratos.
God.
Which is the old Kratos because I played him when I was younger. But now the new Kratos, who is older, I think it's
like a young Sheldon.
Speaking of stroking, yeah. No, I one of the problems I had is I'm like, man, his thing has always been that he's over the top and we loved him for it. And you're taking this character who was notoriously out there and ripping wings off harpies and yelling and screaming and so melodramatic and really trying to rein him in and make him somber and serious.
Yes.
I don't see through I don't see that on its face. I see straight through it to what Kratos used to be. And I think you're the same way, right? And that's one of the problems tonally I had with God of War 2018. And I'm curious now because you're saying you kind of think the same thing, and in spite of that, you're enjoying Ragnarok. So explain how that's come to be.
Well, you know what? I will say they filled out some of the other characters incredibly well to bounce things off of. Kratos. And I will say, I don't know if you know if Kratos is really doing the heavy lifting storytelling wise anymore. His lines are much more diminished in 2018. Oh God. See, now you just said consonant EUS. Artius, his son. Artius?
Atreus.
That's makes way more sense. Okay. There you go. I was like saying it. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Atreus. He's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, doing the emoting of the person that's never going to get love or support from his father, even though you do see that the father, Kratos, is trying to do
why I don't understand why I wasn't cast for this role. And
honestly, you would have been perfect.
Everyone is going to say, Mikey, sure, fine, we get it. Yeah. Your dad doesn't love you. But did you even apply? Did you even audition for this role? And I'll say, that's not up to me.
No,
that's not my job. They find me.
Yes.
And they should tell me.
They should have a filter search about who has the least respect from their father.
Yes.
And then, Mikey Aaronworth would show up.
Right.
And then they would go, oh, we found our Atreus. That's it.
Atreus.
Easy enough. Atreus. Damn it.
You're bowling through it. You're doing a good job.
Atreus. I don't see. I'm just going to, with the people that are going to be upset that I mispronounce the name, I'm going to make them constantly mad.
Well, but that's here's just the thing. Of course you're going to mispronounce it because Kratos never calls him Atreus. He calls him boy. And that's the big joke. Yeah.
Yes. I love it. There is, I'm not going to ruin anything because it's such a new game, so I don't want to do anything, but there are little moments that they use Kratos correct as a father, not as like this absentee bullshit father, as a scary guy. And that is the more efficient use of his fathering, because that is something people can relate to, of being scared of their parents, like being like, oh shit, I've done something wrong. And I think that's just, and it does also like, even though it's like this made up medieval time, kind of whatever, or, ancient time, it is a thing of parenting. You're hard on your kids like that, your kids are going to act out. That is exactly what's going to happen because they're desperate for freedom. And so that's what happens with Archimedes. And so it's just, I will say the other one too, is that the casting, this is in the opening scene, so I'm not ruining, I think it's also in the trailer. Thor and Odin are in this movie, in the game.
Yeah.
And Odin's actually a big character of the overarching, which makes sense as the All-Father. And they cast Richard Schiff, who's in one of my favorite shows of all time, The West Wing, and he's in a bunch of other stuff, but he's just a very good actor. And whereas Thor is a big, fat, Slavic, like scary guy, Richard Schiff is 5'8" and 160 pounds, and he walks in with, hey, what's going on? He acts more like a mafia boss than anything else, of just going like, hey, you're going to do this for me, and we're not going to have any problems. Don't worry.
That's really cool.
It's okay. And it's such a cool idea instead of this like, Shakespearean bullshit walking in with a cape and stuff like that. I think it's just such a nice touch because it is scary. And in Thor is such a nice touch instead of the Thor that we know of the last 20 years, which is Chris Hemsworth as this beautiful ripped guy. It's a horrid man that just wants to kill people. And you're like,
Right.
oh, cool. That's a good take. So I think the storytelling's just gotten way better, and it's been a lot of fun to play.
I'm very happy to hear that, because the more I've seen about it, the more excited I have been to play it. And I'll say the reason I haven't played it is because I am really making some good progress in Elden Ring, and I've made a promise to myself that I'm not gonna play another like platform or action adventure game until I finish Elden Ring. And I'm close. Like, when I say I'm making good progress,
wow.
I'm about 100 hours in now. So I could wrap this thing up like in the next week or two. I've only got 400 hours to go. So we'll see how it goes. But
you know, it's so funny though, but Mikey, by trying to finish this game and not start other games, you're taking away your one true superpower, which is starting games. And now you have no powers.
I'm so good
no
at starting
powers now,
games.
but you can't finish them either.
I have the power of mediocrity, maybe.
Yeah, I think you do have that. Yeah, you're right. That is one of your infinity stones.
I am harnessing that. I remember when I went to my mom and I was like, "Hey, Mom, I know I've seen X-Men. I know I know for a fact I've seen the documentary X-Men, and I know that there are mutant out there. And I know
there are mutant out there.
that I have a power, and my power is the power of mediocrity, because no one could be this boring. I am so mediocre that I become invisible to most people." And my mom's like, no, you are just becoming invisible. And I said, no, it's because of my mediocrity. And then my dad said,
what it is.
Can you shut that thing up? And I said, one day someone will hear about this, and I will play the son of a hateful father.
It is funny, though, that we are getting closer and closer to Colin Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
Me in appearance and you in personality. So
just general likability. Man, so I got another story. Speaking of that, remember last week we talked about, I think it was last week or a week ago or so, where we were talking about how it's so wild to spend time podcasting everything and putting it out there. And, 99% of the feedback that you get is great. The growth is great, but that one comment can really fuck with you.
Ooh.
And over on my other podcast, Jackass podcast, where we review everything Jackass and Jackass related, I posted another video, and this one, did okay, was met with a comment from someone, the mustache dude isn't funny. Just that. No, just that. And for those of you listening, if you can't hear the sound of my voice breezing through my mustache, I do have one. And there's no one else in that video who has one. I mean, there is one guy with a mask. And I think the proper reply to this person's comment would have been, how do you know the guy in the mask has a mustache on in the video? Shit, now that I think about that, I should have done that.
Wait, everyone pause. He's got to make a comment. Everyone shut up for a second. There you go.
And man, it fucks with you hard. It fucks with you hard to have an absolute stranger just go for the gut.
For sure. You know what's so funny too? Like, especially when we do these podcasts, and Jackass is kind of the same way. Which everyone should go download and listen. It's a great podcast.
Thank you.
Is like we don't do bits. It's not like we're doing like a script and we're like, God, I hope people like this. We worked really hard on it. We're just a couple friends trying to hang out, and that's why you're hanging out with us, because we're hanging out together. And so when people say they don't like you or don't think you're funny, you're like, oh, that's not a care. I'm just being myself.
It's just me.
Oh no,
it's just me.
Oh, am I a bad person? Like, oh no.
You just sit there staring out the window for the next hour and a half. Meanwhile, this stranger has not thought about you once since posting that comment.
Totally. You are going to Slim Shady him, and like, you're going to show up at his door and be like, I've been thinking about your comment for 5 years. He's like, who the hell are you? You're like, ah!
Well, he would pull a Don Draper. He would say, I don't think about you at all.
I don't. Just
my favorite.
One of the best lines. Man, Mad Men has a few lines that I repeat so often. It's crazy.
Same. And I haven't even seen anything past season 1.
Oh,
I still use that line all the time. And every time I say it and someone is like, what is that from? I'm like, it's Mad Men. And I explain it to them as though I've seen all of it, because you've explained it to me, and now I can just use it as my own.
That and we always say the not great Bob, where Pete Campbell's having a meltdown. Having a meltdown, and some guy walks in the office and does that casual, like, hey, Pete, how you doing? And he just looks at him like red face, like, not great, Bob. And it just, I think about, oh man, that is, Mad Men.
Can I ask you a couple more questions about God of War?
Oh, please.
What would you say? Because we don't need to relitigate this. We understand God of War from 2018, the reimagining, I guess, of the franchise or the reboot of the franchise. We understand it's a good game, but it wasn't particularly our games. Exactly. And yet you're 12 hours in. I think you said you spent about 20, 25 hours in God of War 2018.
Yeah.
Are you feeling more positive about your initial 12 hours in Ragnarok than you were in God of War 2018? Or are you worried that 10 hours from now, it's going to have the same effect that 2018 had on you?
You know, that's a great question. Thank
you very much. I'll take my answer off the air. Bye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. Just camera goes blank. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. No, that's a great question. To get to 20, 25 hours.
I'll take my answer off the air. Bye.
Okay. Get off the air. I slogged to get to 2025. Right. If you don't know me, listener, after almost 300 episodes, I am stubborn like a mule. And I will dig my feet in. I am horrible. And
in so many ways too. And we don't talk about that enough.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. We should do that for the holiday episodes. Where it's just the airing of grievances, just like Seinfeld. And I think it would be beneficial, and then the podcast would end.
I think I would probably not make it to the new year if we did that. I think I would, you know what I would do? I would have that conversation with you. I would go straight to TikTok. I would stare at the comment that guy made about me and my mustache and my lack of humor. And I would just walk into traffic.
I honestly, it would be one of those ones where like, wow, the person I've spent the most time with in the last 4 years thinks all these horrible things about me. Well, that's it for me. No, to get to 20, 25 hours, it was a slog. I didn't enjoy it. I am recording this podcast and it is taking up my game, my God of War time. Like I would be playing that game right now. I'm actively looking forward to it.
That's great.
I got through kind of I don't want to say boring, but I got, how in The Sopranos, the episodes with Tony Soprano going to Dr. Melfi and he's having a dream, and you're kind of looking back on it and going like, okay, like I understand why this is important in the story, but let's get back to, murdering people and whatever.
You're talking about the one where he imagines that he is this when he's in a coma or no?
There's several episodes where he is in a dream. And
okay.
so,
and
so he's just dreaming for extended periods of time. And you're like, this is beautiful. And I get why it's important to the story and like what he sees in his subconscious, but you're kind of the whole time going like, let's get back to the mafia stuff. I got through a segment of that with God of War where there was something, whatever. And I was kind of like, okay, I know you're being artist. You're telling stories. All right, let's get, I got to murder some people. And so if I powered through that and I'm still really excited to go back and play the game, then I think I've really hit the, the sweet spot with this game. And I'm really excited to finish it. But here's the other thing too. I'm not even just excited to finish the story wise. I'm excited to go back and explore like the lands going, you're doing that thing the whole time going like, well, I can't get to that now. And you're like, wow, I got to come back later. And I'm excited to do that.
See, that's a really good sign. The need to explore and live in a world as opposed to just get to the next checkpoint. Because that was one of the things that I had with God of War 2018. There was a lot to explore and I felt kind of obligated to do it in a lot of ways. Yeah. The side quests did not hit me the way that I wanted them to do, especially coming from what I remembered God of War to be. And then the game telling you like, no, you're not on this fast track to ripping out Zeus's spinal cord and strangling with it. You got to go like take your canoe over and free a bunch of spirits or some bullshit. Like I was like, no, thank you. And again, I know I'm talking shit. I'm talking shit about God of War in the same way I talk shit about Red Dead. I understand they are fantastic games, and I'm sure we'll be talking about Red Dead again later today.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
But they just, the things that I dislike about them, I feel like I'm warranted in speaking this way. And I have to kind of pull a little bit harder on the rope because everyone else is so gung-ho about them.
Yeah, you need to zig while everyone zags.
That's
you know what I mean?
Just my personality, baby. Which way am I gonna go? Well, that depends. Which way are you gonna go? Because my personality.
My personality is like I'm running away from an alligator. I need to zig and zag.
My personality is like I'm running away from an alligator because I have finally succumbed to the sweet release of death. I just know it's coming. I stop zigging, I stop zagging, and I just sit down and think about all the things I didn't get to in my life.
Wouldn't it be great, honest to God? Like, I hope we all live a long time. Shut up. I hope we all live a long time and get a nice full life and stuff like that. But wouldn't it be great to go like, man, I think it's my time. and you give everybody such a wonderful, horrific story to tell for the rest of their lives. Like, what happened to Andrew? He got eaten by an alligator. Really? Yeah. He did the whole zig and zag. He did zig and zagging. Yes, he did. Still got him. Wow.
I know what you're thinking. Why did he take that trip to the Amazon? No, it was in his basement. He was covered in meat.
Yes, he wore that meat suit. He bought, he loves Lady Gaga, right? He bought that meat suit. And so Amazon? No, Toronto Public Zoo. Really? Wow.
Do you
just
remember,
hopped the fence.
Do you remember that game that people used to play? It was similar to like a Don't Wake Daddy type thing where you had to pull the teeth out of the alligator's mouth.
Yes.
He did it himself with a real alligator. It was
What is that
wild.
silver thing what is the silver thing that the old school doctors wear on the top of their head?
I think it's supposed to reflect light out so you can just see. Yeah.
I think it's supposed to reflect out so they can like look at a specific point, right? So it's like wearing a flashlight in your head.
Oh, maybe. Oh,
this
yeah.
Is good. We should guess.
We should guess.
We should guess.
But
more.
look, if my run-ins with the medical world have taught me anything, that's all the doctors are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what should
Speaking
we
of
do?
animals, a bunch of quacks.
Those ducks over there. I get
ducks. A couple ducks.
Actually,
that'd be a good like Zootopia type thing where the doctors are represented by ducks.
Andrew, that's really good.
Yeah, that's pretty
And by
good,
the way,
guys.
Zootopia, very underrated movie as well.
Okay, Zootopia, I am not crazy about that movie.
What?
I know. And it's funny, I was actually doing a little bit of work today because I was thinking about
that's strange.
if you guys relax, everybody. I was doing work for the podcast. I put a lot of thought into this. I don't figure out how to pronounce main characters' names or anything, but I work on the podcast. And I was thinking about the list of top 10 TV shows and movies we do at the end of the year, which we always do in December, and we've been doing it for years, and something I really look forward to. And I was thinking about the movies, and I have 2 animated shows in my top 10 of the movies. And I was like, man, that's really good. And so it's not like I don't like animation, guys. I do. Zootopia, though, a little weird cop stuff in that one, but yeah, well.
Yeah, treats them the way that they should be treated. It raises them up on pedestals as heroes.
They're societal heroes.
Yeah.
Where do they stand? They like cops.
Bunch of quacks. You know what they should. I want to say 2 things.
Okay.
About this past week in American politics.
Oh boy. Oh God.
Okay. 1.
Yeah.
Very, very happy the Republicans did not do better in the midterms. Number 2, very, very happy Donald Trump is running again. Where do they stand? Where do they stand?
Oh my God. Well, I want a third party candidate. What?
I want to be. The last thing I want to say about what I've been doing in terms of my gaming time lately.
Oh, please.
We had a couple weeks ago, we played a video game that I cannot pronounce, but I assume is probably Proteus. And I said on this podcast that I would finish the game. And Andrew, I am here to tell you, I have not done that yet. And instead, I feel like, so one of my favorite moments that I've had in this podcast's history is Spy Hunter, is when we played Spy Hunter.
Yeah.
And then we had an issue with some of the video, so I had to go record a bunch more video and in the process play more of Spy Hunter. And in doing that, had a fucking blast.
You liked it.
I loved Spy Hunter. Proteus is kind of the opposite for me. I stayed up late playing it one night. It was making me weirdly nauseous. I was getting a little bit bored with the process of it. It's still really good. And I could still see myself putting 7 hours into it. I think I'm probably like three in, but I just feel that itch has gone away for once in my life. And I didn't even need to see a quack about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I for people who were asking about my impressions of Proteus beyond the podcast, I have played some more of it. I'm not sure if I will end up finishing it. I was pretty confident that I would, but the more I play, the less excited I am about it. And I think that excitement was just so key to my playing of it. And sorry, if you didn't hear our podcast from a couple weeks ago, Proteus is a boomer shooter reimagined in the modern day. Think Doom meets Duke Nukem meets something new. That's all I got.
Something new. Yep, something new. It's funny though, but I feel like you're getting closer to my review, which I think I was a little bit colder on it than you, and I was like, I don't know how longer I could do this. I feel like I'm doing the same thing. And that's interesting though, because there is aspects of it that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But it's funny when we revisit these type of games, and I think we did this with some beat 'em ups and some less successful modern remakes of beat 'em ups, where we go like, "Oh, is this a reason why it went away?" You know, like
Right.
there is parts of it where you go like, "Oh, it is kind of repetitive and kind of very linear in a world where you need to kind of be dynamic."
Yes.
Is this the reason it went away? Something interesting.
Yeah. And, if I play it again, I'll update you guys. But that's kind of where I stand on that. And Andrew, I think our next biggest thing we got to get to is the theme of this week's episode, which is counting down our top 10 favorite protagonists of all time. We will get into the details of that and how we're ranking each character and what kind of we're taking into account. Before we get started, we'll take a quick break and then we'll see you guys on the other side in 2 shakes of a main character's tail.
Your main characters have tails?
Don't you? I mean, yours? I mean, doesn't your tail have a main I mean, doesn't your stinky tail? I mean, fuck, haven't you shaved your tail today?
Boy.
God, your tail that you're not even sitting on it anymore because you're raising, you put it, if you had a tail, all I'm saying is if you had a tail, you would wrap it in like a circle and sit on it like a donut to cure your hemorrhoids, because carrying the tail, it would, if you had one, would really strain that whole area and you'd probably have hemorrhoids, because some people's tails are heavy and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Some of them are heavier. And the whole thing is like, if you have one, everyone's like, oh, having a big dick is so cool. But all of a sudden you have a big tail and that's an embarrassment. If you had a big tail and that would be an embarrassment. Like that's just,
stop. Oh God.
I know. Stop making fun of people with big tails. Like, I'm an ally. I have no skin in the game. I have no skin on my tail. I have no skin in the game.
Yeah, you're an ally. Why don't you continue this off? We're just going to go take a break. We'll see on the other side.
I gotta go.
Continue.
Okay. Just my tails. Hey, D-pads, want to watch this week's gameplay segment where we play a portion of today's game and provide video commentary while doing it? All of our gameplay segments are available for free at youtube.com/The Retrograde Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and maybe leave us a like and comment while you're there. And while you're here, why not drop us a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice? It only takes you a moment, but it helps us out immensely and lets us know you appreciate us as much as we appreciate you. You can still join us on our Patreon for $5 US per month at patreon.com/The Retrograde Podcast for monthly bonus episodes such as drafts, spoiler casts, top 10 lists, and take some suggestions from the community, both gaming and non-gaming related. Plus, make sure to follow us on all our social media channels. It's at Retrograde Pod on Twitter and TikTok, or at The Retrograde Podcast on Instagram. We're also available on Twitter at Retrograde Mikey and at Retrograde Andy. Finally, reach out to us with any business inquiries or questions and comments you'd like us to read on air at theretrogradepodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you all on the other side. The thing is like, if I wanted to use it as a pillow, I could fucking use it as a pillow. I could fuck.
And welcome back to the Retrograde.
Did we break?
Yeah, we break for like a good half an hour.
Okay, because I gotta be on. I may need to see a quack later because What is it? What does it mean when you've lost time?
I don't know. Can you explain? Like you're just missing it? Like you don't remember it?
I don't think the last half hour existed. Is that a weird thing to say? Because you said we took a break, and I remember is you getting so aggressive about the fact that I don't even have a tail. And then all of a sudden you said, and we're back. Jesus. And I'm like, on my back, there is no tail. You know what I mean? And then,
yeah.
And I don't want to get into
I believe
it
you.
again.
Everyone believes it. No one wants you to. No, I absolutely. By the way, if you do see quacks, don't forget, you know how you make an appointment with a quack?
How?
Handful of breadcrumbs.
Okay. So do you call them first or?
No, phones are ducks. You stupid idiot.
Okay. So
God, you're so stupid. You
go
to a bench by a lake, by a little pond. Excuse me.
Okay.
And pond and lake.
So you don't need to make an appointment for the quacks to show up. You just go to a pond with bread.
100%. It works almost every time. In the winter, it's a little tougher.
This is reminding me a lot of how I make appointments with doctors, and I know this is unrelated, but that's like verbatim what I do.
You show up with a pocket full of bread, and you're like, God, I hope somebody gets rid of my tail. Okay, let's let's talk about the theme of the episode. Let's talk about our top 10 video game protagonists. Mikey, how did you come up with your list? What was the criteria you followed?
Well, before I get into that, Andrew,
okay.
I want to get into how we came up with the idea of this episode. And so we have our Patreon channel, which you would have heard about over at, during the break, patreon.com/Retrograde podcast. And we sent out, it was a big deal when we put our gameplay segment over on YouTube for free. Continuously moving forward. It's now all of our gameplay segments are going to be available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Retrograde podcast.
Nice.
And when we made that announcement,
got it.
We also went to our patrons to see if they had any requests for types of episodes to do. And one struck me as so simple that I was like, these guys must be fucking done. No, I'm kidding. That it was like, how can we not do this? And it was from Greg M, a longtime listener to the podcast, one of the Horse Eggs crew, who recommended that we do a top 10 playable protagonists episode. So shout out to Greg M. Thanks for the suggestion.
Thanks, Greg.
And we're gonna get more over on the Patreon as well. Actually, one of the reasons why we're recording separately is because Andrew had a COVID scare.
I did. I thought I had COVID.
We were supposed to go see Black Panther together. You canceled day of, but I ended up seeing it alone at noon on a Monday, which felt fucking amazing. It felt so
awesome.
good. It was the freest I felt in my entire life. And that episode, once Andrew has time to go out and see the movie, will be up on our Patreon as well. So just a heads up for that. Yeah. But for now,
I imagine sometime this week, to be honest. But yes, we'll figure it out.
For now, we've got this. And how did I come to my list, Andrew?
Yes.
So
my original question,
I wanted to I take a long walk to get to the bench where the quacks are, and also answer questions.
Quack, quack.
The thing I struggled most with, I think, was trying to find a consistent reason for protagonists to be on my list. And I was like, what makes a good protagonist? Is it that they're strong, or they make good decisions, or they're funny? And I realized I could not have a list of 10 protagonists that all fit the same understanding of what makes a good protagonist. I had to have people on this list that were there for different reasons. Maybe because they were funny, maybe because they were iconic, maybe because they were challenging to my ideals, maybe because they fit my ideals exactly. So my list is going to be a wide variety of a selection, and that's what kind of guided it. It's just the ones that meant the most to me for any reason, not one specific reason. What about you?
Yeah, I think mine is pretty similar.
Cool.
I think it's going to be
okay. Good. Yeah, you couldn't answer that. You couldn't take 4 minutes to answer that question.
Except for these reasons.
Oh shit, Andrew, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'll take that in writing. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that my biggest thing that I wanted to see was that the character had some kind of personality. Okay. I need to know who they are.
So I would not be one of your favorite protagonists.
No, absolutely. Okay. I know too much about you.
And I have no personality. Yeah.
How is that both true? What is that all about? I know everything about you, and yet you're so boring. Okay. It's just in a large time in video game history, they were using mascots as placeholders for you, the protagonist, sitting at home. And so they didn't impart personality into these characters because, it's like, well, if he's different than me, then I won't feel supported by this character at all. And I think it's only in the last 25 years we started to see more characters with, genuine personality. And I think a huge part of it is, you're right, I don't always have to agree with them. I don't always have to, disagree with them. But I have to feel something about the character, and something like I get to know them in some capacity. Sure. And so that's the criteria I was working on.
So that's a great point. And something that I want to say on the outset is there's only so much room on this list for iconic protagonists, because it's hard to get to know a bunch of bits on a screen beyond just enjoying the fact that they are iconic. And if our lists, or my list at least, I'll say this from the outset, is lacking some of the bigger names in gaming, that's why.
It's because you hate Italians.
Because but I love mustaches. You know what? You know why? It's because without them, you can't design a mouth.
No, you can't. And you need a hat because hair is tough.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So Andrew, do you want to start off with the list? We'll go from 10 to 1. Do you want to start us off with your 10th favorite protagonist of all time?
10 to 1, bold choice. Okay, absolutely. Let's go with number 10. Number 10 is going to be Hero from Tetris. Everyone likes Hero.
Wow.
No one doesn't like Hero. Hero shows up and people are like, oh, thank God, Hero is here. This is great. He's not Thick Boy. I thought about Thick Boy too, but or Chunky King or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
But Hero,
Smash Boy.
Hero,
Smash Boy.
Smash Boy. Thank you very much. Smash Boy, but the villain actually. Hero. I really just. It's a number 10 spot. Everyone likes Hero. If you show people Tetris, you're like, hey, look at this guy. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I like that guy. I'm like, yeah, you do. There you go. Protagonist for Tetris. Hero.
I do think, by the way, that Smash Boys are the villains on most university campuses. They need to be stopped at all costs. You can find them filing out of the Alpha Theta Kappa fraternity.
Yeah.
Hide your
ketamine.
children.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's fair. So I'll say this as well as a little bit of information on my thought process.
Please.
I struggled a little bit. I'm trying to think of how to say this without ruining maybe some of your picks, because maybe you didn't think the same way. And judging by your Hero pick, maybe you didn't. I struggled picking protagonists that weren't
verbal.
No. That not that at all. That weren't.
I'll start predicting.
If they're part of an ensemble cast, I had trouble picking them. And there's one which I will save to the end because I think there's a chance you'll have this person on your list, and I don't want to step on it. But if you bring it up, I'll say it, and if you don't, then I'll reveal who that was at the end.
Absolutely. And also, if we have similar people on the list, we'll wait till the person has the higher of the picks. They show up higher, and then we'll start talking about them.
And then we'll be
I think that's...
I fucking love that guy. Or girl. Girls can be protagonists.
Equality. Come on. Come on.
So my number 10 pick, where they stand, is going to be kind of a I would say maybe a less likely pick, because this protagonist is not very vocal, doesn't really interact much with a lot of characters because it's a very barren world. But Wander from Shadow of the Colossus is my 10th pick. And the reason for that is because I think a strong silent protagonist can go. Did you drop your water? What just happened there?
I dropped a pen. Sorry.
Oh, you dropped a pen.
I didn't know if you ever could hear that.
You looked so sly when it happened. You were like, oh no. It's like, were you expecting me to bend over and pick it up? Is that what was happening there?
Yeah. I throw a bunch of pens on the ground. Come over here and pick them all up.
Wander, and this may be this is definitely something which will come up on my list as well, is a protagonist who does not always make the morally correct decision. And that's part of the story of Shadow of the Colossus. But I love the idea of playing as a character who is incredibly flawed, yet incredibly dedicated to whatever it is that they're trying to do. And that, to me, is Wander to a T.
You know, it's funny. I was looking at Shadow of the Colossus when I was thinking about this list, and I was like, I wonder if Mikey's going to put this on the list. I think that's a great choice. There is certain characters, because of the gameplay and because of the storytelling, that you impart a lot of feelings into. And even though they are not expressive in certain ways about, their opinions on stuff, you do get a sense of who that person is.
Sure.
And I think that's like a very impressive storytelling feat.
And sometimes I think there's an element of a protagonist not taking up so much of the story through personality that allows you to kind of imagine parts of yourself on them. And sometimes that feels gross, especially when you find out that the protagonist is not doing things the right way. And I think Wander was a big element of that. Yeah. Or had a big element
killing innocent monsters. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So there you go. Number 10, Wander.
Like Harvey Weinstein, by the way, I would say.
Oh boy.
Innocent monster.
Well, it's hard to deny half of it. Innocent. No. All right. Number 9. That guy's going to die in jail. Number 9, Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, wow.
Now, this might be a prisoner of the moment kind of pick, only because the games are so recent. But there are very few characters in which I could tell you so much about their life. I could tell you so much about their life, and it's so much easier to pick a character from a real world situation where you're like, yeah, it's easier because that world is my world, and I can relate to the things. And I think it's so impressive what they did with Aloy was that I am not a young woman coming of age in a world of dinosaur robots, but yet there was so much of that story that I could tell you off the top of my head of what happened to her life and her family and why things are struggling and why she continues to go forward. Her mistakes and her successes. I think it's a really impressive way that they've done that. Not only with the voice acting, but some of the face acting is like incredible. You do feel for her. Your heart breaks for her a lot. And I just think it's to see her succeed and then take a step back and then succeed and take a step back is a really rewarding way to play the game. And I just think she's been a great protagonist. So that's my number 9 pick.
This is so embarrassing for you, Andrew. You have as much egg on your face as Aloy has peach fuzz on her face. You're picking a bearded woman as a protagonist.
I think it's, you know how we did that thing where you relate to somebody? I have a beard. So does Aloy. So we both, yeah.
That's true.
100%.
And this is the thing that people don't understand. Like, I'm just going to say this out there. I know I just made... No. I'm going the opposite way. I know I just made the joke about whatever, like playing that role. This is what people don't understand especially about the design of that character. It's like, if you've never been that close to a woman, you wouldn't know this, but they can't grow hair. It's impossible. And if they're beautiful, they wouldn't have it. So it's gross. It's just disgusting.
You're referencing, I'm going to put loosely, controversy, online controversy that people will struggle to remember. Even now, they're like, what is he talking about?
That's true.
There was an online period where a few select men...
Speaking of female protagonists, online periods.
What'd I say?
Online periods.
It's a few select men complained about the fact that the design that she had like hair kind of growing down like by her ear.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah.
Instead of being like, hey, aren't graphics amazing? We can render peach fuzz on a human protagonist. They're like, I wouldn't fuck that face no more. First of all, that face would not fuck you, Craig.
Craig,
you and your
14.
incel buddies.
Touch grass, Craig. Take a breath.
The involuntarily celibate portion of your personality. Don't worry, they don't want to be voluntary towards you either. So it's fine.
I know it's not always used correctly, but the touch grass thing makes me laugh constantly. We're just like, grass. Hey, buddy, touch grass. You're like, oh, yeah, right. Okay. And I think that's what everyone needs to do. So there you go. Number 9, Aloy for me. Where are you going with number 9, Mike?
I don't want to touch grass. I want to touch peach fuzz. I'm going with number 9, a protagonist that I think, a lot of protagonists as well in modern gaming are kind of shaped by the decisions you make, right? You get dialogue wheels and it kind of changes the person that they are. And this is a character based on the decisions of the quests you make. This franchise is marked by the decisions that you make and it shapes the games themselves, the missions you see, the perception of this character in game. And I think that the way it's handled is much more mature and almost literary than you'll get in a lot of other games. And that's why this character, I feel like, has to be on this list. And I'm not sure you're a fan of the franchise, so I didn't think you'd be the one to put him on. But Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher is one of the cool things about Geralt is because of the nature of his character as a Witcher, which is that he's so deadpan and so almost dead inside that whether he's evil or good, you almost read that into the character based on the decisions you're making. Like the line reads are almost all the same. There's like they're devoid of intonation. And I find that works in a series that started off as books, like it was based on a book series. It's amazing that a protagonist like that can, oh no. Oh, I'm so sorry. You would not like that.
Oh God. Oh God! Thank God they made them into video games.
Oh God, yeah. Now I can understand them. But it's amazing that protagonist from that medium would lend itself so perfectly to one of video games.
You know, I thought about it because my experience with The Witcher is pretty low. It's hey Witcher, get the hell out of here!
Hey Witcher, go fuck yourself, you daft cunt!
You.
By the way, I got gremlins in my basement, you sack of dog shit. Go clean them up, please.
Every time it's like, yeah, Witcher, take a jump off a cliff, turn around. Oh, Witcher, goblins, help, Witcher! I forgot I live in a world where there is goblins and you're the only person that can kill them. What the hell is that? It's
Why
like
do
me
they
turning
hate
to the
witchers
carbon
so much?
monoxide detector and being like, get out of here, you lazy bitch. Ah, you stupid. Like, oh no, wait, is there carbon monoxide? I gotta find out. Fucking hell.
Or it's like
Okay.
going to the police, right, Andrew?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh. Okay. Fuck you, pig. My house got burgled. Pig. Okay, so there's your number 9, Geralt. I didn't have a ton of experience playing The Witcher, and that's on me. I wonder, it's, to be honest, very similar to the God of War thing, where I'm just, I'm trying.
Yeah.
And I wonder if given time, and really jumping in instead of trying to like skip dialogue lines, I really enjoyed it.
You have to
there's a
live in
strong
the
chance.
world. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
key.
totally. You got to jump in with 2 feet, right? Okay.
Or 2 swords. One silver, one regular, like the Witcher himself.
Interesting. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah.
Number 8 is going to be the one, the only, the person that is now a famous celebrity in no small part due to this video game series. I know so much about this person. I actually know too much about this person in his real life. And that's because in the video game, he is the main character. He's the titular. He's the eponymous. He's Tony Hawk from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Oh, wow.
Now, why you think I just said why you got to get to know somebody? Well, here's the thing. Tony Hawk would have been just some weird minor celebrity that would showed up on X Games every once in a while. But now he is a worldwide star that I know too much about, including that he slept with his wife's best friend and now they got married. And then the craziest part about that story, the wife married the ex-husband from the other friend. It's like they swapped couples. Yeah.
That's a good story, though, right?
Is it?
It's not bad. It could be worse.
If you're the other couple, do you think like they united over just revenge and hate?
Probably. There's probably an element to
They're
that.
like,
but listen, I've known bonds that were made over weaker things, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know Barry. So, yeah.
Oh, but yeah, that's true. And was made of weaker things. That's why he took the steroids.
That's why he took all steroids. His head inflated 3 times the size. Tony Hawk, I just think, it's not only that you get to dress him and, change his board and like, so much about his branding and his moveset and things like that. I think Tony Hawk is like legit. I could say Tony Hawk to my mother. She'd be like, oh yeah, no, I know who Tony Hawk is. I'm like, that's crazy. Tony Hawk's going to be my number 8 for protagonists in video games.
I like the idea that you say Tony Hawk to your mother and she says, Andrew, you gotta stop every morning coming into my bedroom and waking me up by saying,
Dad now. He's called Dad. Are you not going to? No, I don't think I can. I got to go visit Dad and fake mom.
I would love to call Tony Hawk Dad. That'd be great. He'd probably show me some respect. I like that.
I think he would.
That's a good creative choice. I feel like you're going to have a more creative list than mine. I took mine way too seriously.
Mine gets a little more streamlined after that.
Okay. I did actually have a character from the Tony Hawk franchise on my list before shaving it off. I didn't quite make it, but it was the protagonist from Tony Hawk Underground, which is you. And it was the first protagonist that you could ever play as where you could take your own picture and map it onto their face. And because of
face
that,
scanning or whatever.
Yeah, it was like the coolest fucking thing in the world. I loved it. But that's, it didn't end up making it. I thought that was a bit of a long walk to take the top 10 list because I fucking struggled to keep this down to 10. My number 8.
Also in Thug, you could walk. So yeah.
Yeah, you could. It was a long walk. A long walk.
Yeah.
The worst walking physics of any game ever, but you could do it.
Brutal.
But
just
you could do
awful.
it. Yeah.
Just to say you could do it.
My number 8 is a character who I don't think would come close to this list for me personally if it weren't for the last game in the franchise. Hopefully we get another one. It doesn't look like we will. This development company has a lot of protagonists that a lot of people love. But weirdly, this is one of my favorites. Not quite my favorite. Another one may show up on this list later, but a redemption arc in the 3rd game in the series that I absolutely loved that changed the tone entirely of this character and saw this character go from a drug addict and alcoholic to sobriety in a way that was narratively resonant with the gameplay itself. It's Max Payne.
Cool.
I fucking love Max Payne. Number 8, Max Payne particular from Max Payne 3, I think was just such a treat to kind of live as.
Yeah, and we went back and played that recently and had a great time with it.
Yeah, it's a fucking fantastic game. It's hard, but it's good.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. But I do like where your thinking is. And I swear to God, after this next one, after number 7, I will have more to commonly associate with what you're saying there.
Okay.
Is that, like, I love the redemptive arc. You know him as one person in 1, and by 3, he is a very different person.
Yes.
And yet ties together. It's not like, whoa, what the hell happened here? Like, no, I get this. I get the arc here. So I love that. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I put a lot of thought into it.
That's pretty good. Okay, so for my number 7 pick, this feels obvious, but not obvious because the character is obvious. But in this medium, it's a little new. I love the betrayal of Batman in the Arkham series.
I considered this. Yeah.
I just, you know what? When you get to spend this much time with somebody in a video game, as opposed to a 2-hour movie or a series of shorter comic books, this is the real portrayal of whether this is getting to know the person and hearing them talk and hearing what they think about things and hearing them interact with different characters. I love this portrayal of Batman. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a really delightful way of getting inside the mind of a true psychopath, but nonetheless a protagonist of these stories.
Yeah, everyone says the Joker's the psychopath, but if you really look down deep, they're not that different.
No, it's almost like they need each other.
It's almost like they need each other.
I think we're the first people to say this. That's interesting.
I know I'm the first person to say it, and I actually thought about it before it even came out of your mouth.
Wow, that is something. Okay, wow. Hey, everyone, laud Mikey. Here we go. Celebrations to Mikey. Flowers to Mikey.
Thank you very much.
All right, where are you going with number 7?
I'm going, and before I go to number 7, I just wanted to say quickly that you said, it's the most amount of time you spend with Batman, and also the only time you spend as Batman, and I think that makes a big difference as well.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
So I'm going to go with number 7, a similar idea, but flipped on its head to my number 8 pick in Max Payne, a character who I didn't need as much to go through the changes that they went through. I mentioned this earlier. We talked about it earlier. It's Kratos from the God of War franchise. But the old Kratos, the old Kratos, in terms of when we played him. Young Kratos. Young Kratos.
Young and aged Kratos.
Yes. And the reason for that is because I think he, as a game character in the God of War franchise, epitomized what... Andrew, I gotta be honest with you. Did someone just walk by? Is there someone in your place?
No.
Okay.
I saw someone behind me?
I saw someone in the reflection of your window.
That's another person's apartment back there.
No, the left side of the window. No. My left. So the
your
far
left
side, closer to the curtain. Yeah.
This one.
No, other one.
That one.
Yeah, I saw someone in the reflection. I was like, oh, your partner's home, but maybe not. You know what? Unless I'm going crazy, go back and watch that on YouTube, because I swear I just saw someone walk by in the reflection. That's baffling.
Oh, that's exciting. Cool. I got something new to worry about.
But Kratos epitomized that.
Yeah, let's just go back and talk about the top 10 protagonists of all time in video games. Well, I'm either getting burgled, pigs, heads up, I'm getting burgled, or I'm haunted.
Or both. You're getting burgled by a ghost.
Wouldn't that be the worst thing of all time? Ghosts now have purpose. They're like, hey, I'm back, and I'm pissed off.
No, you know what would be good about them is they take your stuff and then they try to float through your wall, but the stuff stays.
It hits the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. It's like when it tries to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just goes straight through the floor. But I think epitomizes Kratos did that era of gaming, and I know it hasn't aged perfectly. As Andrew looks behind him again,
I now am nervous.
I know it hasn't aged perfectly, but it was. I think it's important to understand that it was iconic for the time to have this angry, brooding guy who just ripped people and things apart, and I liked that. It was my angst and my frustration, and I felt like I was able to take it out on other people, but in a more healthy way.
Okay. Great. Well, there you go. Kratos not showing up on my list. So I'm glad we're talking about him here.
Okay, cool.
I know, people love the voice, I guess, but whatever. It's really hard to impart into a god and stuff like that I just couldn't, I couldn't get my head around. But I totally understand that, and it's a game I really like right now. So who am I to say anything? All right. With my number 6, I'm going to, number 6 is the ghost that's living in my apartment. I want to, it's number 6 to number 1. So I hope you respect
Sakai? The ghost?
I hope it, no, Patrick Swayze. I hope to please it so it does not try and kill me in my sleep, most likely. Okay, my number
So
6
the
is
opposite Dan Aykroyd. You
yeah,
pleasing
I hope
the
it
ghost.
doesn't fillet me in my dreams. Yes. A weird part of Ghostbusters, like a nice, fun family comedy about the 80s. It's like a ghost gave Dan Aykroyd a blowjob in that movie. But all right.
I mean, that was the one thing, speaking of family movies, that Zootopia was missing, was a good dick sucking. And
What kind of,
interspecies dick sucking.
What kind of animal would be?
Well, see, I was imagining that that it would be the main character who was a fox, and the animal whose dick it would suck is a duck, because I think it would be funny to see him have to twist himself into the fox's mouth.
Yep, got him.
Yeah.
I was thinking of fish for some reason, but that's just me.
Yeah.
My number 6 pick is going to be Nathan Drake.
I have Nathan Drake on my list.
Well, then I will save it till we get to
no,
yours.
I don't. He didn't make it. He didn't make it. He didn't make it, which was a really tough cut for me to make.
I'm surprised to hear that. Yeah, number 6. It feels like the great crossover from a character you would have had in the 80s and 90s in movies into video games. They're quippy, they're fun, they do action, they're sexy, they're romantic, they do all these things, and you want to be that guy. I totally get this. I get this idea, and for some reason, especially in the later games, I didn't tire Nathan Drake, even though I should.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Spider-Man, where you're like, oh my god, shut up. After a while, you're like, no, I kind of like him the whole time, and even though he is a genocidal maniac, and he's
a terrorist for sure, international terrorist,
war crimes. He would be in the Hague, but. You know what? Especially in the later games too, they do the backstory with the family and stuff, and you really do feel for the guy, like the wife and Sully and all that kind of thing. I really do think it's a really impressive story, and I think Nathan Drake is an absolute protagonist to a T. So I had to have him on the top 10.
I love that. I'm glad you did, because it would have been really weird to not have him on this list. But again, I just really struggled to free up enough space on this. So I had to cut a couple people. My number 6 is kind of similar in the sense that I think Nathan Drake is great because he's fun, and Uncharted is fun. And I think that fun in video games is something that's supremely underrated by people who, rightfully so, want there to be a bit more maturity in the medium, but are also in doing that, in demanding it, sometimes throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I'm going back to a game that is incredibly fun, and a protagonist who embodies that in Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, great
a
choice.
Lombax who's very funny. I think the writers at Insomniac, speaking of Spider-Man, the most recent Spider-Man game, the writers just know what they're doing. They just as the developers know how to create fun in gameplay, the writers know how to embody that fun in the spirit of the game, in the dialogue itself. So I'm going with Ratchet. I've known him personally since game 1, and I played every game in the franchise, including some of the stinkers, and I love that. I love that dude.
Yeah,
those little stinkers.
Yeah, I can't really blame you. That's a good choice, just because you get to know Ratchet. You know what I mean? And like you do feel like you know him, and you're along on the journey too. So I think that's a totally great one. So that's your number 6, eh?
Yes, I'm going to make a prediction, Andrew, that this pick is going to be the same as my number 5, and it might not be, but I'm just based on where they are and how much room you have to leave, I'm going to guess that this is going to be the same. Who is it? Number 5.
I bet you. So here's my bet. I bet you 3 of our last 5 are the same. I don't know what order, but I bet you 3 of the last 5 are the same.
Yeah, we're probably going to be pretty close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, never mind. No, I actually don't. I take it down now. It's probably 2 or less. Right. Okay, number 5 is going to be Ellie from Last of Us 2.
Oh, no, not mine.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to see what you thought it was, so I can't wait to hear yours. I wanted to choose, just heads up, this spoiler alert, Joel's not on my list. I wanted to choose between the 2 of them.
What?
Yeah, I wanted to choose between the 2 of them.
Wow. Okay.
I had to choose between the 2 of them. I couldn't have 2 protagonists, and I made also some decisions on other ones as well, which I will get to later. I think Ellie, this series of Last of Us, or as I call it, Lou, is tough.
I call it Ray for Alston. Or skip to my
Lou? Yeah, 100%. Which often when I was like, oh, I get to play Lou, I skip back to the console and I'm like, yay, that's exciting. It strains the word protagonist in a lot of ways. And it really is incredibly illuminating into the idea of what is a protagonist in a story. And just because they're the main character, are they the protagonist? Well, who knows? In that it gives, especially in Last of Us 2, spoiler alert, you get the perspective from Abby to see that Ellie might not be a protagonist at all. She's a survivalist and she will do what she needs to stay alive. But is she a good person along the way? I don't know. And it's the same thing
does a protagonist have to be good? Because I don't think that they do. I think a flawed protagonist is still a protagonist. Like they don't have to be good people necessarily.
Right, but the line between them and an antagonist is very thin. It's much like the Joker and Batman, Mikey. I don't know if you know this, but
they're so similar.
They're so similar,
just like Abby and Ellie, man.
I know.
Who knows?
That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Who is the protagonist? Who is the antagonist of that story? Well, that's up to your own interpretation, or maybe the beauty of it is neither are. So I would say that, and I think this story of Ellie between the two games, of her growth and the life that she has constructed for herself, or the way that the world has placed a life upon her, I think is super compelling. Where Joel, the first one is very interesting, don't get me wrong, but I think Ellie had the bigger argument to being the protagonist of this franchise. And so that is why I went with Ellie, who I feel like I know a lot more know a lot more about, and feel a lot for.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that Ellie gets her strength as a literary character often from, at least in Last of Us Part 2, a lot of that strength that you're talking about comes from Abby because of the perspective shift.
Right.
And whereas I think Joel, who is on my list, I'm not going to say where, but Joel gets a lot of that just from himself. And there are things about Joel that do something that I hadn't really experienced in games before, and I'll talk about more of that when I get on. But he is not my next pick. My next pick instead is a character who I had to start selecting characters who are very iconic and meant a lot to me, but who I feel were a bit surface level. And that's this character in my mind. I've spent so much time with this character. I love the wackiness. I love the weirdness. I'm glad that this character, brought by a director in games who I love so much, is here, but I'm upset that they're not higher. It's Solid Snake as my number 5.
Well, that will be coming up later for me, so we can save that conversation when we get to it. Okay. Oh, wow. Interesting. All right. Number 5 for you?
Number 5, I know.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Okay.
I wanted it higher, and I'll explain more when we get into it.
Can't wait to hear it. All right, number 4 for me is going to be Trevor Phillips from GTA 5.
Wow.
What?
I don't love it. I know everyone loves the Trevor
my
pick.
fucking list. I don't care what you think.
I just think you're wrong, but continue.
Oh, wow. Trevor is one of the more challenging and most modern characters what we had in video games up until this point. He is both challenging because of opinions that you do disagree with, no matter who you are. He's going to say something where you're like, oh, God, yikes. But at the same time, shows more humanity than I don't know, a lot of video game characters up until that point. He is human. He is flawed, and he has challenges. And to see his growth, both introspectively and out into the world, is remarkable. And every time you cut to him, he was doing something zany and wacky and stuff like that. But you know what? You know who that guy is. Everyone has got a Trevor Phillips in their life in some capacity. Yes. And seeing him on screen and seeing a portrayal like this is so challenging for a video game to tell a story that has like depth to it, that has like, it's not just superficial where it's like, he's this guy, he's kind of wacky. Like, no, he's kind of wacky because he's a damaged human being that is that is going through stuff. I find that to be a remarkable portrayal of a video game character. And so that's why, as a protagonist, I think he's got to be number 4.
I think he's incredibly interesting. I think similar to how, your argument about the world around Ellie really helping Ellie as a protagonist. It's the opposite for Trevor for me. Everything in GTA 5 is so dialed up to 11 that I find it hard to care or even enjoy the presence of any of the protagonists of that game. And I know that he does something that's different, and I know that he does something that's challenging, but in the context of GTA, where there's still homophobic jokes and there's still some very questionable content in there, they don't deal with a lot of those topics very softly or deftly. It's very heavy-handed, and you don't know where they stand, but in a bad way. Unlike us, when you try to introduce meaning to one of the characters, it's really hard to get a sense of auteurship there, because it's like, what about everything else that's going on in this world? And then the dissonance.
What's funny?
What's funny?
I disagree with that, because I think the world, the environment around it is so dialed up, and it allows a character to be subtle in that way, or to be introspective in that way, because he's engaging with the environment around him. And I don't think, Rockstar, I don't think has ever held a punch that they wanted to take. But at the same time whether we like it or not, the world that Rockstar has created with GTA is more reflective of the world that we live in today than we would all be happy about.
That's
and
true.
Between the radio station and the talking, like the way that people talk to each other, the superficial attitude that I think is mostly at the heart of this game, especially being in LA. I think having a character like that engages with that world that is so wrong is actually really interesting. I'm not supporting, some cheap jokes they make or anything like that. I think it's just more, it shows real deftness, like real depth to actually create a character that has to engage with that world instead of just a guy that, a silent character that just it sounds like he accepts it because he doesn't refute anything, which is the opposite of Trevor.
No, it's a very fine line, and I think it's just one that I fall on one side of and you fall on the other. I don't as vehemently disagree with your choice as I initially said, but I know a lot of people love Trevor, and I've always kind of been like a little bit confused by it. But you make some solid points. I don't completely disagree.
Trevor, it's the guy that plays Trevor and is the face is now like an actor. He's like in so many things now because of it. And like every time I see him, I'm always like, holy shit, that's Trevor Phillips. Like it's not even, you can't hide it. He looks like it and he sounds like it, but
he has the cut here tattoo on his neck too. So my number 4 to match yours is one that I'm just going to say it because I know it's high up on your list and then we'll get into it is Arthur Morgan. So we'll get to that when we get to it.
That's number 4 for you. I didn't surprise he's on the list.
Really? No, Arthur Morgan is a phenomenal protagonist.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to get to him later.
We are going to get to him later, so I'm not going to say much more about him there.
I didn't think you had. Okay. Huh. Okay. So number 3 for me is going to be, it's funny we're talking about this. We should have let off the episode with this because there's big news. We have a new world champion in the world of Pokemon, and that person is Ash Ketchum. And I just think it's really important that we honor, achievement is big. He has been striving his whole life to get to this mantle that I didn't know existed previously. And Ash has it, and he's going to be my number 3 protagonist in video games. I think there was very few characters that I've spent as much time with than Ash Ketchum and his relationship with his Pokemon and his struggles and his battle as he went to achieve and beat the games routinely, which I did. And I just think it would be an absolute mitzvah for me to miss Ash on my list. So he's number 3 for me.
So we should clarify that you're using Ash Ketchum as a placeholder for the Pokemon protagonist. We know that
Pokemon
Ash
trainer,
is not, that is not Ash, but he's best known as Ash because, before you shake your fists at us, Ash was based off of the Pokemon trainer. So I agree. I love that as a character that you, holy shit, for the number of bits on a screen that made up that character. I imagined so much about that. Myself being on it, the amount of time that I spent hunting through tall grass, just so much character and love was imbued in that small sprite that I love that pick.
Yeah, to be honest, I use the word Ash Ketchum just because I wanted to talk about this ridiculous story that he is now the world champion.
Still don't understand
it's funny
what the
because
fuck that means and how it happened.
Don't understand at all. But when I got an ESPN notification going Ash Ketchum is Pokemon, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? What the hell? That's like them going in the next Creed movie, Creed wins, and you're like, what? Why do I need to know this?
There was a moment where I was like I logically knew this wasn't true, but there was a moment where I was like, is Pokemon fighting real? Why is ESPN covering this? It makes no sense.
Yeah, why do they care? Yeah. Very odd, but nonetheless, yes, Pokemon trainer number 3.
Trainer. Okay. I'm going to go with one who I don't think is going to be on your list, and I may get flack for this character being on my list because of how malleable they are. But I think that the game does a good enough job of setting up who your character is that you create. You can take the stock character, which most people know by a single name, or you can go by your own character, which is still kind of called by this person's name. So regardless, the version of this protagonist you create has a big dashing of your own influence in them. And it, I think, affected me as a game that you have input in, maybe more than any other video game I've played. And the fact that you make it look like yourself absolutely did help string that along. So I may be cheating by doing this, but it's Commander Shepard from the Mass Effect trilogy. I just, a lot of people play as the stock characters. I know Femshep is one of the more popular protagonists. The voice actor, obviously, given a lot of commendation, but I just felt like I related to this character so much, the relationships that they built so much, because it was real. And that has to do with the writing of the character and of the game and of all their interactions. You really felt like you came away from Mass Effect with real relationships, and I've never really felt that too much in many other games.
Yeah, didn't you say that you got emotional when you said goodbye to the alien monster?
100%.
Like his best friend?
Well, I think about that all the time. Yeah, Garrus. I did. I still to this day, I was like, fuck, because in my mind, sure, you're saying goodbye in the game and you understand the implications that you may never see this character again in game. But also, I don't plan on replaying these games. I like my first experience of them to exist as they were. So I knew I was saying goodbye to that character forever. In my life, I would never interact with that character again, and that hurt.
Yeah, that's it hurt me too when you're like, Garrus is my best friend. Like, okay, well, that's
if only I could have started a podcast with Garrus.
Yeah, but you couldn't. You had to say goodbye.
I had to say goodbye. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Okay, my number two and my number one have both been spoken about, so now we get to talk about them together. Okay. Number two is going to be Big Boss himself, Solid Snake, Metal Gear Snake, Venomous Snake, Liquid Snake, all the snakes. Yeah, you know what? This one's a tough one for me because I simultaneously love the character and love the games, and I've had a lot of time playing them. I also think they're wildly ridiculous, and I think the voice acting is incredibly slanted and kind of silly sometimes. But at the same time,
what are you talking about? Metal Gear,
Big Boss. Snake is. But you get to know this character, and you know what? For one way or another, whether you think it's silly or not, they've stuck to this character. They've developed him, and he's gone through decades and decades and decades of stories of knowing who this person is and what got them there. I think it's really a compelling story, which should be so ridiculous. And the fact that I keep going back and playing it or thinking about it, says a lot about the character itself, and I just think it is truly one of the best protagonists in video game history.
I do agree with that for sure, and it feels weird to me that it's so, I guess, low on the list because Metal Gear is one of my favorite games of all time, and I've played so much of that franchise, and I love Hideo Kojima. I wanted Sam Porter Bridges on my list, but he's not there, so I'm glad that Kojima got a little bit of...
He's not?
No, Sam Porter Bridges isn't there.
I thought he was going to be...
I really tried to make him work, but there's just too many other characters that I need to fit. But I agree with you, man. Okay. Solid Snake, I love the absurdity of it. I want people like Kojima to make games that make you scratch your head and just are cool because they exist and they're not asking you to understand them too much. I want big swings. I want weirdness. I want wildness. And that is so embodied in Solid Snake and in Big Boss. And I'm happy he's high on your list too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Metal Gear Solid's up there with just one of the most important video games of all time. And that is absolutely embodied by that character. And you're right. It's like it runs the gamut of all the emotions, but never does it take itself not seriously. Yeah. Like, it will make jokes and stuff like that, but the character is consistent, and that's like a really impressive thing.
I totally agree. I think that's a staple of Kojima. There's a bunch of winks and nods to the camera, but like, God damn it, this is a serious story, and don't forget it because he will remind you of it. And absolutely. I love that.
No.
The story of the game for my number two protagonist is a little bit silly sometimes. I think they try to get a little heavy-handed with it. This is one that fits on my list in spite of the fact that a couple other comparable characters and protagonists aren't on the list. This is the one from that stable of character types that I chose because it's an adventure. It's a quest. And this character I've seen take several different forms on several different journeys. I've changed a lot as a human playing these games, and I feel like for each of my changes, in personality over the years and years and years that I've been playing this protagonist, there's always been an attempt to kind of match that energy or change in order to reflect change in this protagonist too during that time. And it's Link from The Legend of Zelda. I've been on so many journeys with this character. I think my favorite is probably Wind Waker Link, but thinking back to the darker versions, or, Ocarina of Time, some of the more humanoid versions, Breath of the Wild, where it's airy, but there's still some substance there. I just have spent so much time with this character, and it's, he's silent. So you're allowed to kind of put yourself into them as well, and name them Poopy Butts or whatever you want instead of Link. If you want to do that, makes the dialogue great. Link, number 2 on my list. Yeah,
hard to argue. One of the most famous video game characters of all time. And so like that, absolutely. And just the longevity of it too. It's princess. So there you go. Number 2 for Link. Okay. My number 1, already been brought up, Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2. It's so funny. I was thinking about Arthur and kind of going like, man, am I really going to put him number 1? And thinking that I was just kind of rewarding the more recent games. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is almost 5 years old, and which is kind of crazy to think about. And it is definitely been rewarded because of new technology and because of the way that we treat video games now, that the story of this man who is a bad man, who is a gangster, who is an outlaw, and is not satisfied with that outcome of his life, is so remarkable. The nuance that they show to that no one is singularly minded. That it's not just like, I'm just going to get money and kill people, like which would be most villains in every video game, right?
Yep.
And to show that he is not satisfied with his life and he is seeking his own kind of redemption as his life will end. I think it is not only beautifully voice acted, it's the interactions between the characters around you and the satisfaction and the arc of his life coming to the end. I love the idea that, it's stuck with me forever. I think about this game all the time, and I think about Arthur all the time in the way that you were supposed to die in video games. Death is an absolutely accepted outcome in a video game, and it is absolutely part of the necessity of doing it. But dying is usually of your own actions and because of inaction or mistakes or whatever. Death is
temporary.
Never... Yeah, and temporary because you come back. Death, like a disease, like Arthur dies of, is so heartbreaking because it breaks the fourth wall of what a video game is and brings it into the real world of saying that you too will die, just like Arthur will. And you have one life to live, and you got to make sure that you're doing the best with it. It has stayed with me for a long time, and I really just, I think Arthur Morgan, like, without a doubt, is going to be the most important protagonist and number 1 protagonist on my top 10 list.
I love it. I think it does things that games didn't do before. I mean, dealing with something like this, we've dealt with sickness and illness, but for such a big character, for the person who so clearly held together the group, quote unquote Dutch's group. It's like, is it Dutch's group? Everyone's going to Arthur for this. And I think there are parts of us as well that always want to imagine that we are the Arthur Morgan. We've all been led by other people, bossed around by other people, but we want to feel that our part in the group is integral. And Arthur Morgan has that. He's respected. He's liked. He's disliked. Yes. We all have these types of relationships, and the inevitability of, like you said, a sickness as opposed to going out in a blaze of glory, a la John Marston from Red Dead Redemption 1. It is just such a stark change to what you would expect from a game like this. And I agree. Totally stuck with me. You were surprised Arthur was on my list because of all the stuff that I say about Red Dead. But the one thing about Red Dead that I cannot deny, and I say willingly, is the story is phenomenal. Is one of the better stories I've ever played in games, and at the heart of that is Arthur Morgan. So I'm happy he's on the list too.
Oh, there we go. I'm glad we saw eye to eye that. Yeah, it is the kind of game you could show people, and they're like, oh, video games do this, eh? And you're like, yeah. And I just also want to say, John Marston's incredible. One of the better video games of all time. I just made the decision in my head of going like, I'm just going to choose one franchise and go with it.
Yeah. As a placeholder almost, for both.
Yeah. Like John Marston would have been on the list if there wasn't that stupid rule I placed in there. He'd be pretty high too. So, I just wanted to say that. Where are you going with your number 1, Mikey?
Number 1, look, I said he was on the list. You didn't know where he was going to show up. In a game that I think hasn't even aged as well as I would have hoped. I think there's a lot of narrative dissonance in it. And for a game with narrative dissonance, I think sometimes it's hard to have a strong protagonist, although you get the Nathan Drakes. But in this one, it's Joel from The Last of Us.
Oh, wow.
Joel is my number 1 protagonist on this list. And here's why.
Okay.
I understand the Ellie pick. And I think similar to your Marston and Morgan dilemma, I probably would have had both of them on if there were space. But
sure,
to me, Joel embodies more of The Last of Us in terms of like a singular narrative structure than Ellie does. And not to pit them against each other. That's not what I want to do here. Right. But I will say that the moments in The Last of Us 1 where there's this seemingly helpless young girl that you have to take care of, and she's just looking for a father figure.
Right.
And you as the father figure, or Joel as the father figure, it's so close that all he has to do to help this person is say the right thing or do the right thing, not even put that much of an effort, but he can't. And I think the block is because he lost his own daughter and he doesn't want a new daughter. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand about The Last of Us is like, why isn't he just, you got a new daughter figure? What? No, that's not how daughters work. He's struggling to take this person in his life. And because of that, the number of moments you have where he does something and you're like, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to choose what I want to do. At this era of gaming, like Mass Effect, like The Witcher, where you're used to shaping the protagonist, forcing you to be uncomfortable with the choices of the character that you're spending this time playing and embodying. It was brilliant. It did something to me that no other game has. And I remember that, you know, as much as I love the silliness of a Solid Snake or the placeholder element of a Link, or even the fact that I could shape out of clay Shepard, nothing has affected me as much as Joel from The Last of Us Part 2.
I honestly, really, really good pick. The march down the hallway in a hospital, I will always remember that. That'll be a very seminal moment in video gaming history for me. And Joel, you know, and I think I don't know if you believe that they did the right thing in Last of Us 2 or not, to the shock value to create no more ties to the like a harbor kind of thing of safety. It is effective, and it's only effective because Joel is such a great character.
100%.
You know, and I will say too, I think the other one too is like, that's, you know, not how daughters work, which is a great t-shirt we should make, is that he lost his daughter. He's going to be forsaken. He's going to be pained his whole life because of this. And now somebody's like, I also want to be your daughter. And you're like, I'm not doing that, because then you're going to die. And then I feel twice of this, and I can't do this. You know what I mean? And I think it's so much more too than even a father-daughter relationship. It's like this weird, like, you know, mentee kind of mentor and mentee situation, like old Japanese stories about like the, you know, the old samurai and stuff like that. So I really, it's such a good story. It's games like this that make me so encouraged for the history of video games, or excuse me, the future of video games, and my continued experience with it. We're now the generation where you're not going to be like your dad, where it's like, and I stopped playing Pong. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And it's like, no, I want to hear these stories. I want to see these stories. And Joel is a great example of that. So great number one pick.
Yeah, I think The Last of Us is just ripe with potential protagonists as well. And I'm glad that you know, it's almost upsetting that Abby didn't show up, because we had, and you know what, we've had people consistently over the course of our podcast come back to us and say, hey, we just re-listened or listened to the first time to yours and my Last of Us Part 2 spoiler cast that we did on the main feed of the podcast a while back when it first came out. And I loved that conversation, because we came into it, I think, not realizing that I fundamentally sided with Abby and you fundamentally sided with Ellie. Two people, you and myself, who are of sound mind and body and have our own, like, have like reasonable opinions on art, and often they follow the same trajectory.
Sure.
But we just ended up on opposite sides. To me, it's like, man, when you can have a conversation like that, and it was deep and meaningful and almost agitating at times for both of us, because we're like, you don't get it. Man, that is capital A art, and The Last of Us just coming in heavy. Yeah,
for sure. You can have this conversation forever. It's no one's wrong. You know what I mean? They're just two sides to a story, man. Like, that's just what's going to happen.
Just like in The Last of Us Part 2.
Exactly. Yeah. So there we go. Those are our top 10 video game protagonists. Mikey, you know what? We should do that bullshit internet thing where we post our lists like in a week. And then everyone can just yell at us the whole time and be like, you guys are idiots.
You know what they're going to yell at us for. There's one glaring omission from both of our lists.
It's a Mario?
It's a Mario. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even Sonic as well. Of course. Yeah. Give me your explanation as to why Mario is not on your list.
I was going to say Sonic would have made my list before Mario. And okay, I've got a very clear reason why. Sonic has a personality. Sonic, I know something about Sonic. He will look at me and tap his foot and be like, hey, we got to go fast. I like going fast. I got to go fast that way. Mario is almost nothing. And it's something we talked about when the movie was going to come out, which is coming out now, but they talked about casting a movie. I'm like, what is it about? What does Mario think about things? What does he feel about stuff? You know, I don't know anything about Mario. And so I kind of am confused about that. And so it's hard to go like, he's truly a protagonist because he's trying to do this. And well, what is he trying to do? I don't even know. Yeah. So that's why. That's for me. What about you?
The personality of the Mario franchise is in all of the ancillary characters. Toad has way more personality than Mario does. And you read Mario's intentions based on Toad's dialogue, essentially. And I also, though, understand the argument that that's what makes him great. That he's this iconic, just being kind of like a fucking Mr. Magooing his way through our consciousness. But I want more. I want there to be a bit more writing. That's why I had Ratchet on the list. You know, I considered Ratchet. I considered Sonic. I considered Banjo. Because
Banjo was close to.
I wanted like a mascot, Crash Bandicoot. But there's only one Kirby. Yeah, no, all these guys. Yep. And the problem is I just couldn't find ways to put them on because they were all the same in some way. They didn't do anything different from one another. The only difference was the skin. And I'm like, if that's the case, I can't have any of them on the list.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And that's why we're kind of really absent of mascots in general, just without personality. That's why I wanted to make it really clear in the beginning. I'm like, I need to know something about them, you know, a little bit. And so my little bit is like a leaning towards that hero pick from Tetris, just because at least there's some difference where you're like, oh, okay, cool. But like, that is the one that I'd give myself.
Yeah, so it's also a fun pick. And I think
Link
there's enough brooding to him that you can read personality into it. And that isn't just like, all right, let's get the job done. Cause I feel like that voice could be for any, there you go. There's Banjo. So love them as things to play as, but in terms of my favorite protagonist, not on the list.
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to hear everyone's list because this could go in so many different directions. You can get really creative with it. You could be picking games that maybe we don't have a ton of experience with. And you're like, this meant a lot to me because of this. You know, we speak very passionately about many different characters on here. Yeah. And I'd love to hear about that. You know what we should do, Mikey? We should make one of those fake lists that just say the Retrograde podcast 1 to 10, and then you fill it in yourself. Because I'd love to see some images of that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Let's do that. I love that.
Yeah. Well, we love every single one of you. We can't wait to hear. You're our protagonist. I just want you to know. You at home. You D-pad.
I am
you
my protagonist, though.
Yeah. Well, that's true. You're my antagonist. So we love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name's Andrew Bascom, and with me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over. You're my Ellie, by the way.
I'm your Ellie?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're confused about how this.
I want to murder you with your own proximity bomb.
I don't know why I keep thinking I'm Joel's brother, but I think I'm Joel's brother in this story.
I can see it. Laid back, good guy.
Yeah,
plays guitar.
Yeah, good. He's not really the main character. Probably will die, but everyone go, that was a good guy.
He was a good guy.
That was a good guy.
I'm the guy who chases Ellie around the restaurant.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
And interspecies dick sucking.